So I get an email. It says that it's from Roblox billing department. And it's got the Roblox logo on it, and it's got the whole thing. I mean, it's like, everything's pretty perfected on it. And it says that my credit card, that their account, Henry's account, had been billed $1,000 on my credit card, but because it wasn't either double authenticated or whatever it was, that they weren't able to authenticate the thing. The actual email said it was an unusual transaction. So it seemed even real in that way. So, of course, now steam is coming out of my ears. And, we're all home because vacation is staycation. And I go running into their room. I go, guys, I just got this email. What is going on here? $1,000. How could this be? Da, 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 da. And they look at me and they go, Dad, April Fools.
What's doing, everybody? Welcome to First Class Fatherhood. I'm Alec Lace, and before I hit you with today's interview, make sure you subscribe to my YouTube channel and hit the link in the description so you can listen to all of the interviews I've done with so many tremendous dads, including Dana White, Deion Sanders, Tony Hawk, and so many others. Now let's get going with today's interview. Joining me now, First Class Father Andrew Sorkin. Welcome to First Class Fatherhood.
Thank you for having me. I want to be a first-class father. We're all working on it. It's a journey.
Well, you made the grade here today, so let's start right there. How many kids do you have, and how old are they?
I've got 3 kids, 2 twin boys who are 10, and a 4-year-old girl.
Wow, very cool. Yeah, what kind of sports activities are they all into?
Oh, goodness. The boys, there's 2 things going on right now. There's what I call the in real life activities, and there's Roblox, which we're trying to avoid. We're in a bit of a Roblox situation here in the Sorkin household at the moment. But the good part about this, and I don't know how to get my head around it, is I have a son who's actually into developing games on Roblox. So I'm thinking this is a good thing, but it's very, screen time is sort of a hard thing. Otherwise, they're big skiers, they're big tennis players. This winter, I don't know, we've been running around ice skating. I mean, honestly, with the pandemic, team sports has not been the thing at the moment. And My little girl, she's just running around doing everything. So.
Yeah, I'm battling the screen time over here as well. I got 4 kids myself, so this year during the pandemic, it's been tough to try to get the screens under control. So, Andrew, if you could here, please just take a second to hit my listeners with a little bit about your background and what you do.
So I'm a journalist by day. I write for the New York Times. I host a show on CNBC called Squawk Box. It's the morning show about the world of finance and business, and really at the intersection of policy. And then I'm also an author. I wrote a book called Too Big to Fail, and a producer, made a movie out of it for HBO. Co-created a show on Showtime called Billions with Damian Lewis and Paul Giamatti, and I'm working right now with HBO again to create a new film about GameStop.
Yeah, well, I look forward to seeing that, because that's one of the things I'm going to hit on you here in a little bit. But then I wanted to say, obviously, you've had a very successful career here, Andrew. Along this journey, about how old were you then when you first became a dad, and how did becoming a father kind of change your perspective on life?
Oh, my God, it's changed everything. That's a good question. I was 34 years old. I was 33 or 34 years old when I first became a dad. And I mean, I'm still going through it. I'm a workaholic. I'm somebody who's always loved work. I mean, I really do love work. I don't know if I'm allowed to say that or if I should feel bad saying that, but I've always had such a passion about what I do. And so I was one of those people, especially before kids, who would work, 80, 90, 100-hour weeks, work on the weekend. Some people play golf. I work. That's my hobby, right? And I think having kids has sort of changed at least some of that. I still work probably as hard as I ever have, but a little bit at this point for me, but like, what am I doing this for? Like, why am I doing this? Am I, what is this really about? And it's created, I think, a lot for me of perspective about how I spend my time, who I spend my time with, how I spend my time with my kids. Because ultimately, whatever I do professionally is really going to pale in comparison, I imagine, to their future and whatever they can do for the world and for themselves and for their families. And so I don't know. I mean, I could get on the couch here and we could go through a whole thing here.
Well, one thing I wanted to hit on, Andrew, I know you posted it on Twitter there. The kids hit you with a good April Fool's. And
Oh
you
my
mentioned that was
God.
a retaliation prank. Can you run that a whole scenario there by the listeners?
Oh, so they got me so good this year. So I should say we're an April Fool's family. So we're into April Fool's Day in a very big way. It also happens to be my mother's birthday on April Fool's. So there's always a lot of hijinks going on April 1st in my household. This year, and I don't even know how I could have missed this. It was just I'm such a delinquent. So I get an email. It says that it's from Roblox billing department. And it's got the Roblox logo on it, and it's got the whole thing. I mean, it's like, everything's pretty perfected on it. And it says that my credit card, that their account, Henry's account, had been billed $1,000 on my credit card, but because it wasn't either double authenticated or whatever it was, that they weren't able to authenticate the thing. The actual email said it was an unusual transaction. So it seemed even real in that way. I'm thinking, did he hacked? What happened? If he got hacked, it's probably his fault. He's doing all these crazy things with these developer forums, and who's he talking to, and what's happening. So of course now steam is coming out of my ears, and we're all home because they're doing. I think they were doing virtual school that week, or no, we were actually on vacation, but we were home because vacation is staycation. And I go running into their room. I go, guys, I just got this email. What is going on here? $1,000. How could this be? Da, 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 da. And they look at me and they go, Dad, April Fools. Now, I should tell you, this was true retaliation. They had been working on this for a very long time, apparently. I mean, this was like one of those phishing emails. For real. I mean, it really makes me think that either I'm saving for college education or for bail money. I mean, that's what's going to happen when this is all over. But so last year, because it was the beginning of the pandemic, the kids had been on virtual school for, I don't know, couple weeks at that point. And a friend of mine, it was actually a friend of mine who did it, but I guess I executed on it. He wrote up an email from the school with the school logo and everything from the principal of the school, from the headmaster, saying that given the COVID and everything, for whatever time was going to be away, the kids were going to be away for remote school, they were going to have to make it up and school would begin again over the summer in person. And it was very draconian, including Saturdays and everything. And so I had read this email to them and shown it to them on my phone, and I have a video of it that I'm not allowed to show anybody because my kids are so mortified by the whole situation. The fact that I'm talking about it with you is probably not going to help my cause as a first-class father. So anyway, that's what happened, and now I have to figure out what happens on April 1st, 2022. So if you have ideas, send them my way.
Yeah, I'll be looking forward to seeing what happens next year. I'm sure it'll be hard to top that one. Now, other than revenge here, what would you say are some of the top values that you're hoping to instill in your kids growing up?
Empathy more than anything else, just to being able to understand other people and being able to put yourself in their shoes. Loyalty, a true sense that you're good for your word. I've always thought that when I know somebody's good for their word and they're with me, that's a real bond. And honesty, you can't do anything else unless you're honest. If you're an honest broker, it takes you a long way. Now, those are three things I think I can instill in them. The one that I'd love to instill in them, but I don't know if it's something that's instillable, is I pray that they find something that they're genuinely passionate about, that they love. In the same way that I told you I love my work. I feel blessed because even though I called it work, I don't feel like I've ever worked a day in my life for real, because I actually love what I do all the time, and that's a blessing. And so, how do you create a situation or opportunities for them to be able to find that thing that they love? So that's what I hope to do. And boy, it feels like a high bar.
Yeah, and you mentioned there before too, saving for these kids to go to college or bail money with tongue in cheek there. But it's something right now we see a lot of people calling for student loan forgiveness. We got a lot of kids that come out of college, they're buried in debt.
Yep.
I've had the Wolf of Wall Street on here, Jordan Belfort. I've had a lot of different entrepreneurs on here to ask them, is a college degree necessary to succeed in today's world? And then saving for that, what does it look like? So what's the best way for parents here to save for their kids' futures? How are you saving financially for your kids' futures? What's the best way for us dads to go about it here?
Oh, well, I think the answer is you got to save, you got to start early, and in terms of putting these kids in a position to succeed, college is a huge part of that. And look, there are people Mark Zuckerberg left college, Bill Gates left college. There are going to be exceptions to the rule, but to me, in this day and age, getting these kids both into out of ultimately college 4 years later uh, is one of the things that I hope to do, and I hope happens for them. In terms of saving, I think there's a number of programs, depending on what state you're in, where you can save on a tax deductible basis, at least some money annually. But I think just save early, save often, and put that money away constantly. It's the only thing you can do, unfortunately. And then, of course, when these kids get to junior, senior year in high school, and they're applying, the good news is there's still opportunities, Pell Grants, and all sorts of other things to look at in terms of financial assistance that may or may not be available. But to the extent you can put yourself in the best position possible, you need to.
Yeah, very cool. And then touching on what you mentioned there before, obviously the GameStop thing. It's been a crazy financial year since the beginning of the pandemic, where the stock market went all the way down. We were wondering how long it was going to take for it to come back up. It shot back up higher than it was before. We've seen this GameStop thing, Bitcoin and cryptocurrency has been going crazy. So with the GameStop thing, well, I know you said you're focusing on something with HBO for it here.
Right.
Is this something that we're going to see become a trend, or is this going to be something that's nipped in the bud here? What is the future of all this stuff look like?
I think the GameStop story to me ultimately is really about the idea that people are coming together on social media for the very first time and learning about the stock market, but also working as groups to really be able to move the price of a stock and to generate genuine excitement over stock. I don't think that's going away. I don't think that's going away anytime soon. And I think that it's going to be very possible for the little guy in certain ways to push the big guy around for a period. I think ultimately when you look at the GameStop story, one of the great revelations is it really was as much about the little guy sticking it to the big guy as it was about the big guy sticking to the big guy, or the big guy sticking to the little guy, which is to say that it wasn't always just a David versus Goliath story. When you saw the stock of GameStop move to the prices it has, there are big players. There's this is Goliath versus Goliath in some cases. So I think we're still trying to figure out what the lessons of all of this really are.
Yeah, it was wild to see. And I know obviously some people got caught holding the bag. Obviously someone's got to come out the losing end of this. And some people that got in late and then the thing dropped back down. So it was tough to see some of them stories, but also exciting to see the ones that did win out on it, that started small and made big and got out. So obviously, a tale of, what does they say in the Tale of Two Cities there? It was the best of times, the worst of times,
exactly.
Right? Yeah, so that seems to be what played out. And then bringing it back into you as a father here then, Andrew, what type of disciplinarian are you as a dad, and is that different than the discipline style that you grew up with?
Oh, such a great question. I am not the heavy. I want to be the heavy, but I'm not the heavy. I'm usually the calm one, and I don't discipline as much as I should, and then what that actually creates and hits a problem. Because when I'm the heavy, I'm like the major heavy. So I only sort of come in to do like the when things are when 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 there's a true discipline problem, when I have to raise my voice, that's when it's but it's probably a snowball effect because I don't say enough probably early on. So I don't know. I go between this idea: do you want to be this helicopter parent where you're on top of the kids all the time, disciplining them, nitpicking all of that all the time, or do you want to just come in when there's actually something that you can actually help them steer them in the right direction? That's what I try to do. But who knows? You got to call me in 20 or 30 years and maybe interview my kids to find out whether it worked.
Yeah, sometimes I've had the dad and the child on the show here, and I've been able to say, "Hey, how was he as a disciplinarian?" and then see if it holds any
Right.
water, So, but always interesting. All right, so obviously you've had a lot of success here. You talked about the project coming up with HBO. What other kind of projects, or what else are you working on? What kind of goals do you have here for yourself in the future?
Oh goodness, I just feel lucky to be able to do all the things I'm doing, frankly, and I think my goal for the future, my goal honestly is to be a first class dad. No joke. That's what I want to be. And anyone who says they're already a first class dad is probably lying to themselves. I think it really is a journey, and hopefully I'm on the right track.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. I'm trying to be a better dad today than I was yesterday, and that's the main goal here, just to move the bar a little higher each day. And I learned so much just from talking to so many different dads, listening to the different philosophies, parenting styles. This has been very therapeutic and beneficial to me all the way around. So, last thing I want to hit you with here,
Yep.
Andrew, I love to ask all the dads that I get on the podcast here, what type of advice do you have for that new dad or for that about to be father who's out there listening?
Oh goodness. So when we had twins, we were not expecting twins. So all a little bit nervous about what it would be like. Having two at the same time was sort of this explosion for me of anxiety or nerves. But how is this all going to happen? What's going to happen? I don't know. I think in the end that it's everything that people say. It goes too fast. You can't imagine it going as fast. I mean, it's such a cliche. It's a ridiculous cliche, but just spend the time. Spend as much time as you can, because it goes so quick. It's so sad. I mean, I wish I could. I often tell my kids, I'm like, I want you could just stay mini. Can we just keep you mini? Is there a way to do that? Then of course they don't want to be mini. They want to be big. They want to be big. They want to be big boys and big girls, and they will. But I don't know. I'm not. I'm going to not be the best dad when they. I'm not going to be good at being an empty nester. That's for sure.
Yeah, very well said. I love the message. This has been an honor for me. I got to say, Andrew Sorkin, you are a first class father all the way, and thank you so much for giving me a few minutes of your time here on First Class Fatherhood.
Hey, thank you. Really appreciate it. And good luck to you and all the fathers out there.